Well, at first we did our online training, and then we got our police checks through, and then we had an inspection of the house to see that it was suitable to have students to stay here, that we had all the facilities that was required.
Okay, that was about 5 years ago. So one of the first things that happened was the AHN people came to inspect the house. They had a look at the house and said that was fine, and then they directed us towards a questionnaire which had lots of questions about our motivation for what we're doing, questions about our knowledge of other cultures, etc. And since we're a very well-travelled family, we found it quite easy to answer the questions, and we qualified in no time. It's nothing to be worried about. They're very simple things. It's not a pass or fail sort of situation. It's just an understanding of what you're doing when you're going to be hosting people coming from overseas.
What would happen if we had a difficult student, someone that, you know, perhaps behavioural problems, and the other thing was particularly having the rent from them, having to ask them for rent and that sort of thing, and make sure that they pay on time. Those are the two main issues that we were concerned about when we started to have students to stay with us.
We didn't have a lot of concerns or worries because, as I said, I teach overseas students, and I've taught overseas as well as in Australia. I guess we worried for the students, how nervous they would be, and whether or not they could adapt to our type of family, which is a very busy sort of family.
Obviously showed them the room and asked them if there was anything that they particularly wanted to make them comfortable or that they required. For instance, the boy from Saudi Arabia needed a place where he could put his prayer mat in a particular position. So that was one thing. The other thing that we make certain of is that they know what the emergency number is if they, you know, sort of have problems. And also, some of them have even got jobs, part-time jobs. So we always insist that we have the telephone number of the person that's employing them. And of course, we have their mobile number and email address so that, you know, we can contact them if we have any concerns. As obviously, they can do the same with us.
Well, the first thing we do is we smile. We welcome them in. That's number one to help a student settle, is to make them feel at home. But then, of course, we are obligated to look after them from the point of view of showing them where their university is, physically taking them to the university. We help them buy a Myki card here in Melbourne, which is a tram card. We help them find a bank that they can use, but almost every university has banking facilities at the university. So most of them are introduced to that bank at the university. After that, we obviously set them up with their Wi-Fi so they can get straight back to their parents and talk to their parents and say, "We've arrived, this is fantastic. We're here in sunny Australia."
Yes, we try to make as few rules as possible. The one that we do insist on is that they keep their rooms tidy, and that the wardrobe is for where they hang the clothes, not the floor, and that they leave the bathroom clean and tidy, and that they're home for meals at night. This is when we have our English conversations, generally speaking, around the table. And if they're not going to be home for a meal, that they must ring in good time to let me know, so that I don't have to provide a meal for them.
I think you have to say that this is your home. They are, if you want to bring them into your family, not to treat them like guests. It's not a hotel. It's not a question of demand. It's a question of integrating them into your family and making sure that you understand their needs, but on the other hand, not to give up your own needs. Some people I know, some students can be very demanding, and we've seen a couple of demanding students, but you have to say, this is where we live, this is how we live, and you can't accede to every single request, obviously. On the other hand, you have to understand that they're young people, they're very far from home, and you have to accommodate some of the things that they need, which you probably didn't accommodate before.